If you were to look at the core of post-narcissistic abuse trauma, in the heart of it, you will find that it is all about betrayal. The betrayal on every level imaginable that breaks you as a person, that shakes you to your core, that disconnects you from the world and the way you relate with it. Hi, I am Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional, and today in this episode I'll be talking about 5 undeniable signs that show you are experiencing betrayal trauma and you're suffering because of it. The number one sign is that you find it extremely hard to trust people, even those who are very close to you. Trusting becomes a matter of life and death. And for us to understand why it is the way it is, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of the narcissistic relationship. And if you remember and recall, you can see that how the narcissist promised you the world. They promised you a future that would include a perfect family, that would include love, affection, care, concern, something that you always wanted. However, what happened at the end? You ended up realizing and knowing and finding out that it was all a lie. It was never said and expressed with the intention of just saying it because they felt it. It was said and expressed just to induce that sense of attachment and put you in the trap. And that gives you the biggest trust-related injury, the biggest attachment trauma. You trusted someone with your life, with everything that you were, with everything that you are and have been. And what happened at the end? You ended up finding out that it was a lie. And this takes so much time to heal from. Number second, you feel completely and totally vulnerable and unsafe all the times, even when there is nothing to be afraid of. You feel as if someone has stripped off your clothes and you feel naked. You expressed the deepest core before someone who you thought or assumed was paying genuine and true attention. You shared your past, your previous injuries, your past traumas, everything you have been since you were a child, considering that they would respect it, considering that they would contribute to the healing of it. But you ended up again finding out that all of that information was used against you. It was used to put you down, belittle you, humiliate you, corner you, use you, control you. And if someone experiences that, how big of an injury, the trust wound, will they experience? How would it be easy for them to open up, to share their experiences once again, even if it is a healthy partner? Wouldn't they think 100 times before just opening up or even talking about the simplest experiences or non-traumatic experiences of their life? Indeed they would. And if this is something that you are struggling with, you need to be self-compassionate, because you have been given one of the biggest injuries a person can ever experience in their life. Number third sign is you experience complicated and complex grief, a kind and a type of sadness that doesn't seem to go away. When it comes to normal grieving and the grieving process, what happens with time is you tend to accept what happened with you, and ultimately the pain fades and you move along and you go on with your life. However, when it comes to healing from narcissistic abuse, experiencing betrayal trauma and experiencing this complex grief, this pain feels drowning. You feel that it doesn't go away, because each day that passes, with each moment that passes, you end up realizing that this was also a lie, that was also a lie, and that puts you in the layers, the waves of deep sadness and depression. And if you are experiencing this, just understand that with time, with healing, with patience, with these deep realizations and the ultimate acceptance that is going to happen, you will get to the other side. But before that happens, you will have to go through these repetitive or repeated cycles of grief and sadness processing again and again. And it is not only sadness that you will encounter. It is the anger, the frustration, the desire to take revenge, and all of those emotions, a cluster of them that you will have to process. Before we move to the number 4th and 5th, Make sure you leave a comment below and share what has been your struggle when it comes to processing betrayal trauma, and which one of these signs do you relate with. Number 4. You have difficulty with falling or staying asleep. This is a very peculiar and a very specific symptom or sign of trauma. But when it comes to betrayal trauma, what doesn't let you sleep is the obsessive thoughts of how could it happen? How the hell did it happen? How could it possibly a lie? Was it all a lie? How can a person be such a liar? How can a person be so evil? How can it all be a lie when it felt so real? How can be I such a big fool? Why did I let it happen? And these thoughts induce self-blame and self-doubt, and you end up unconsciously or unintentionally perhaps blaming yourself for what happened, because there is no other way of justifying what happened with you, given how deep the betrayal trauma is. If this is something that you relate with, you need to understand that you have been deeply, in all possible ways, betrayed. What you knew about humanity and the greater good was broken into pieces, which is why everything feels so shattered and you feel so disconnected from everything. You have to be self-compassionate. Instead of blaming yourself for letting it happen, you have to recall how they put you in the trap, brainwashed you, gaslighted you, love bombed you to make it happen. It wasn't you who caused it to yourself. It was them who abused you. Your intentions were pure. Your intentions were just to love them. But they ended up using your emotions against you. So just be compassionate towards yourself and understand that it wasn't your fault. That would be your first step to resolving, processing, and integrating this betrayal trauma. Number 5, and the last one, is you feel as if something has been robbed of from you. You feel something has been snatched and taken away from you, something very, very precious. And it feels like you are empty. There is this hollowness. You feel someone came in, they took something from you, and now you're left empty. This deep emptiness that stays with you. This is the biggest sign of betrayal trauma, because you were robbed of your love, your care, your attention, your admiration, everything that you had to offer. But for what? Nothing. Deep pain, sadness, abuse, all of that in return. And if you feel this way, I completely understand, because your feelings, the way you feel about potential relationships and the way you are afraid of new relationships, it completely makes sense. When a person feels that they have been robbed of something, that the emotions, the feelings they had, the genuine feelings they had for someone were taken advantage of, how would they be able to trust someone? Even when the other partner comes across or is really healthy, it would be very difficult. However, I would like you to consider this, that healthy love, healthy partners, they are out there. Indeed, you ended up with someone who's very toxic, who took the treasure from you. But there are people out there you could potentially meet, but after healing deeply. But only after working on the deep betrayal trauma, so that you do not function like a survivor. You do not function from a place of deep attachment wounds. Rather, you are more practical when it comes to attachment, when it comes to deciding whether or not you should be moving on with them, or whether or not you should be giving this relationship a chance. I hope today I was able to help you understand what betrayal trauma looks like and how you experience it. And I hope you recover from it soon if you are experiencing it. I'll talk with you very soon. Till then, let the healing begin.